two entitled kids go on a rampage, destroying the property of this hotel left and right, causing in the process thousands of dollars in property damage. And when I approached the parents asking them to please leave the hotel, they refused to leave, forcing me to call the police to get them involved. Here's what happened. So I worked the graveyard shift as a security guard for a small private company, and one of the places that I have worked security for was at 2 hotels. One thing I do while I am at work is to try and be respectful and give someone the benefit of the doubt, especially when there is supposedly only one witness to something that might be going on. I also try and be as respectful as I can be, even when the person or the people that I'm dealing with are being uncooperative and belligerent. One of the things I do when I first get on my shift is to talk to the front desk of the first hotel I would guard and see if they need anything before I begin my patrols for the night. And I always checked in with the front desk as often as I could, so they knew that I was there to help out if needed. I would then walk over to the second hotel and do the same thing. Most of the time, they would ask me to go to a room and knock to let the guests know that they're being a little too loud and that there was a noise complaint, and the guests would usually apologize and then quiet down for the night. This night in question, I had to deal with 3 entitled parents. One thing about the hotel is that the lobby closes to the public at 9 o'clock at night, so that means any large gatherings are prohibited from continuing at that time, and that is the time I would start to work. I grabbed a radio so the hotels could contact me at any moment if they needed security. I would walk from the first hotel after having let them know that I was on duty, and I would make my way over to the second hotel to do the same thing. When I checked in with the front desk at the second hotel, the clerk behind the desk asked if I could talk to a group of adults who had been drinking and were getting very loud. I calmly and respectfully told them that they could continue their party in their rooms, but they had to vacate the lobby as it was officially closed for the night. The clerk at the front desk had told me that she had tried to get them to quiet down as well as leave the lobby for the past 10 minutes, yet they complained that they had a right to stay in the lobby for as long as they want. They complained that the hotel had gotten security involved and complained on their way back to the rooms but left the lobby. I began my patrols again when I got a call less than 30 minutes later at the same hotel because someone had complained that children were running in the halls. The hotel was currently hosting a sports event, and many kids on sports teams were there at the time. The clerk behind the front desk had me meet her in the lobby, and we went to the room that we believed the children were in. And when I saw the kids, they said that they had been outside until a moment ago when they came back to the rooms, which I could verify as true. The kids then said that they had seen 2 kids that appeared to be twins running through the hallways. The clerk then leaned back and gave an exhausted sigh and told me that she had gotten complaints all day about those 2 kids, and she believed that the parents were in the group that had been kicked out of the lobby earlier. I walked around the hotel to see if I could find the room the kids were in and was stopped by hotel maintenance, and they told me that they saw the kids running away from the floor that I was on and that the fire extinguisher cases were all open and one appeared to have been kicked in and badly dented. I spotted the 2 kids in question, and they immediately went back to their rooms at a running pace when they spotted me. I found out what room they were in and reported everything to the clerk before going to the first and second floor to find out if any more damage had happened. And right when I was doing that, a guest had told me that they also saw 2 twins running around the second floor, and I found other cases open, except one had been broken open, and the other was missing a handle, and the glass was cracked. I went to the lobby and I showed the pictures of all the damage that was done, and the clerk called her manager immediately at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday night. The manager had said that these kids and their parents needed to leave immediately, and the room needed to be charged for all the damages done to the hotel. I waited until about 10:30 at night to go to the room, hoping that the parents would be back in the room at the time. So I went up to the room and I knocked on the door, and one of the kids responded. I said, "Hello, I'm the security of the hotel. Are your parents in the room?" The kid responded no, and so I asked them which room they're actually in. This stupid kid then told me what room the parents are in, and I immediately told the children to contact their parents and have them meet me up at the room. As soon as the door closed, I stepped away from the door, but kept it in the immediate view and contacted the front desk and asked the clerk to wait with me since we were dealing with minors and for safety reasons for all parties involved. And I definitely did not want to deal with any false accusations. The parents took about 15 minutes to come to the room as they expected me to leave the floor the children were on, but I was afraid they were just going to run around to another room and break more stuff on the way. The first thing that happened was the entitled father started yelling at me. "What are you doing creeping outside our children's room?" I responded to them by saying, "I'm a security officer with with the hotel. I was asked to speak with you as your children have been accused of breaking hotel property. And right on cue, another one of the friends of this stupid entitled father chimed in and basically implied that I set up the kids and was harassing them all through the night. I explained by saying, "Sir, your children have been accused of breaking hotel property, and because of the risk of them supposedly doing this again. My job here is that I am assigned to protect this hotel from such things, and as such, your children are considered a threat to the safety of the hotel." This father did not like it when I said that, and he responded by saying,
"You have no right to be outside their room. You should have come speak to us at our room and not just stand out here like a weirdo."
I further explained that they are classified as a threat, with the accusations of the destruction of private property, and as it stands, the hotel managers have made it clear that you are no longer allowed to stay at this hotel, and you must leave the property immediately. Eventually, their mother comes into play, and finally responds by saying,
"You have no proof that our children are behind this. They are perfectly behaved, and they have been in their rooms all night."
Unfortunately, as they kept trying to yell and talk over me, I was beginning to get irritated and was losing my polite attitude, and started becoming that extreme security guard that had a cop attitude that no one wanted to deal with. So I said, "That's ridiculous. I have hotel staff that have seen them outside their room. I have several guests in the hotel that have seen them outside of their room as well, and I have personally seen that they have been outside their room." The mom responded by saying,
"Well, everyone is lying and personally targeting our children, including you. There are many children here that could have been the culprits behind these accusations, but you're just choosing to blame everything on our children."
And at this point, I simply had it. I responded by saying, "I don't care if you believe me or not. You need to leave the property immediately." It was at this moment that the entitled father got directly in my face. He said,
"I don't have to do anything that you say, and we are not leaving. I work for the FBI.
And after he said that, I looked at him straight in the eye, and I demanded that he show me his federal credentials, proving to me that he is a part of the FBI. The state that I live and work in states that if you identify as a member of a local or federal law enforcement or as a federal employee, you have to show your credentials, even if you live in another state. The entitled father said he didn't have to until I told him this exact law. He then told me that he left them in the room and he needed to go get them. When I was able to confirm that they didn't want to leave, I calmly walked back to the hotel lobby, but not before this stupid entitled friend chimed in by saying,
"Go ahead, that's right, just leave. You know you are wrong and that you have nothing to prove."
As soon as I was on the elevator, I got on the radio with another clerk at the front desk, and I told them to call the local sheriff's department, and I told her the entire encounter and explained that they were now trespassing on hotel property. While the clerk was on the phone, the night auditor came in, and I briefed him on what was going on. The entitled father came down and began demanding the hotel give the family a full refund or they were not gonna leave, and that they couldn't do anything as he was in the FBI. He unfortunately severely scared the two clerks that were still on shift and made the night auditor nervous with this, and I told them to let law enforcement know that the man was claiming this. Thankfully, they went back to their rooms after realizing that the hotel would not budge, and they then stayed in their rooms for the rest of the night. I checked all the hallways just in case, but thankfully, they remained clear for the rest of my shift. Law enforcement showed up at about 3 in the morning, and when I explained everything to them, they became guarded, especially when I said that there's a man who's claiming to be a part of the FBI, and that he might be dangerous, if you know what I mean. Law enforcement said that they could take the family away as they were trespassing, but there was little that they could do. The parents told the officers that I had not talked to the parents, nor had the hotel spoken to them about anything. The entitled father and his friend started demanding information from the hotel about the clerks involved and all of my work information. I told them that I was not allowed to legally give out any of my work info outside of the name of my work. It wasn't true, but the guy believed it and said he would contact my work and make sure my superiors hear about me and how I was just a complete jerk. The rest of the night was uneventful, and the entitled family stayed in their rooms, but that was because they didn't want to leave, and the night auditor was a nice guy and didn't want to kick the children out at 4 in the morning with nowhere to go. Since the kids of these entitled parents were connected to a sports group, and there were about 10 to 15 rooms all connected under the group, the hotel decided to charge each room with the destruction of property and attached a report from the hotel staff that had been written up by myself as well as them to make sure it was known why each room was charged over $500 in damages. One of the fun things about that night is that one of the sheriffs that showed up was a friend from high school that I haven't even seen in 10 years. So either way, it was nice to catch up, despite the fact having to deal with these entitled parents. Those people sound absolutely obnoxious. I mean, is it seriously that hard to watch your kids and make sure that they don't destroy private property? Like seriously, what kind of awful parents are these people? Not to mention the fact that they basically tried to shift all the blame over to the security guard as well as the front desk itself, trying to intimidate them into doing nothing, basically trying to strong arm them into getting their way. And while this didn't have that much of a happy ending, it did cause some financial strain on everybody on the team, and it exposed this stupid family for the people that they really are. So hopefully the next time they go to a hotel, they're able to act correctly, because otherwise they might not be so lucky and they probably will get kicked out at 4 in the morning. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My entitled mother's behavior towards me and my girlfriend has significantly changed and become incredibly weird ever since she found out that my girlfriend's pregnant. And now she is bombarding us with names that we have to pick from when it comes to naming our unborn child. Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I have a baby on the way, and there is not much time now until the baby is due. This is going to be my mom's first grandchild, and I appreciate that she's super excited, but she's being way too controlling and overprotective. Quite early on, she was bombarding us with names that either myself or my girlfriend didn't like. She took offense to it and started accusing my girlfriend of being too fussy, as well as being too controlling or not giving me a choice in the matter. For me, a lot of these names were associated with people I've met in my life and had bad experiences with. And my girlfriend works in a nursery and had seen many kids over the years with most of the names suggested who have been either very dirty or not looked after properly, or were really just naughty children that she didn't want to associate with naming her own child, which I'm completely fine with. I see exactly where she's coming from. She did eventually calm this down until recently when things started to escalate. I had a Christmas present for my girlfriend delivered to my mom's house as nobody would be in at my home. She decided to wrap it and write a label on it as being from our future child with a name that she picked out. I politely asked her not to do that as I didn't like her doing that in the slightest. I said it's a nice thought, but that is not going to be his name next year when he's celebrating Christmas. So essentially, please just cut it out. Now, when I said this, my mom threw a massive fit. She basically accused me of being selfish and ungrateful. She was throwing at us all these names under the sun, and basically we didn't want any of them, and she didn't like that we didn't like her Christmas tag. The way she was acting was really just obnoxious. Eventually, over the Christmas period, my girlfriend and I both agreed on a name that we both really liked and we really connected with. But of course, my entitled mother decided that she hates it and has since started bombarding us with new name suggestions, trying to deter us away from our current choice. And as a result of dealing with this on a daily basis, this has truly started to become very stressful for me as well as my girlfriend. It's our baby and my mom's behaving like it's hers. She wants to pick the names and it's everyone else's fault simply because we don't like the names that she's giving us. It's as if we've offended her beyond recognition simply because we don't like the name she's giving us. Both my grandma and my stepdad think that she's also being controlling, but also acting like this baby is hers. But unfortunately, if either of them say anything to my mom, she will probably just try to shut them down and kick them out of her life. My grandma even fears for my baby ever getting in my mom's arms because she truly seems very unstable. For a bit of context, my grandma has dementia and my mom won't even take care of her or visit unless my stepdad forces her to. Her number one priority right now is this baby, and it's really getting to be too much. She's behaving stupidly and she's really acting entitled to something that she really has no claim over. Yeah, your mom's being ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it's just a name, right? Like, why is she getting so bent out of shape simply because you don't like the name that she's trying to pick out? Like, does she not remember that this is not her kid and this is not someone that she has any control over when it comes to raising that child or even naming it? And how weird is it that she tried to label a Christmas gift with a hypothetical name that she picked out for this child that hasn't even been born yet? Like, that's straight up weird if you ask me. And I think the grandma is onto something. This mom definitely does not sound super stable. I mean, she won't even take care of her own mother, and she only visits if she's forced to. And that's really not fair for anybody involved. So honestly, name this baby whatever you want. And I think just for the sake of it being a principle of the matter, I would absolutely avoid anything that your mom would suggest. It sounds like you're already gonna do that, but based on what you've described, I would really just stay at arm's length with this lady because she doesn't sound like she's a good mom in the slightest. And if anything, I bet she's gonna try and be weird when your child is finally born. An entitled customer customer at our hotel tells on me to his mommy, making false claims about me and making a huge scene about everything. And after getting removed from our hotel, he tries to hit me up for a date on a dating app. Here's what happened. So I had a lady come down asking for my assistance in her room due to a disagreement between herself and her boyfriend. She said he had caused some property damage to the hotel, and she just wanted someone there in the room with them while he packed a bag to leave, so nothing else was damaged. So I grabbed the cordless phone and I head up there, as there are two of us on the desk that day anyways. I get to the room with her and I just chill in the living room while the guy is in the bedroom packing his bag and speaking quietly on the phone. I don't go near him, as he isn't doing anything to cause alarm at this time and is packing a bag to leave. I can't hear a single thing he is saying, and I just make small talk with the female and her kids. 10 minutes into me waiting up there, a woman barges in as the door was not completely shut, and she starts going off on the other lady and myself. She started saying that she heard her son telling me multiple times to get out of the room and how I was being rude and saying all this garbage back to him. At this time, the man comes out of the bedroom with his bag packed and suddenly starts screaming at me too, claiming everything she is saying to me is correct. And at this point, I'm super confused. I'm also bewildered about how this went from me quietly being there to make sure no damage happens to the hotel property to me suddenly getting yelled at and screamed at. They demanded that I leave the room, and as a result, I officially called the cops. Not only did I call the cops, but a few rooms down heard what was going on and they called the cops too. But I stayed in the room still, as I had noticed some hotel items damaged in the room earlier. I stay on the line with the police while this lady still yells and screams in my face until one finally appears in the doorway. He enters, I get off the phone and ask to be let out of the room since there is now police presence there to make sure that no damage happens to the room. He lets me out and another officer comes up and asks for my side of what happened. I explain everything to him and I let him know that the lady is not allowed on our premise after she leaves with her son. I get on the elevator, which so happens to have my coworker on it, as she's coming up to see if I was all right. 30 minutes have passed by at this point too, by the way. That's how long they were yelling at me. And when I saw her, I literally just broke down. Straight up panic attack. It took me a good 2 hours to fully be okay again. But that is not even the best part of this story. Funnily enough, about 2 months later, the same guy who lied about me yelling at him tried to hit me up on a dating app. But instead of entertaining any kind of interaction with this creep, I told him that he should probably go check with his mommy and see if she's yelled at any other customer service employees since the last time that she screamed at me. And after that, I straight up blocked him and moved on with my life. So hopefully I never have to deal with this guy or his mother ever again. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. First off, it would be a big red flag if anybody came down and was like, hey, I have an altercation going on. Can you please sit up here to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the hotel? My first thought would be like, nope, I'll call the police and they can do it. Like seriously, this is straight up a domestic issue. And this is a situation that I absolutely would not want to be involved in. So good for the original poster for basically getting out of this unscathed, because this really could have gone differently if you're not careful. And what on earth is wrong with this guy in the first place? He straight up lied about you on the phone just to try and rile up his mother with these false accusations that you've been yelling at her kid. And mind you, this is an adult man. Like seriously, he can't just pack his bags and get out of there. He has to make a scene on the way out. Regardless, hopefully they never come back to that hotel, because that sounded absolutely miserable. And if I got yelled at like that for 30 minutes, I would probably be shaken up just as badly as well. My boyfriend uses his emotions against me and has gotten in the habit of breaking down and crying anytime I have a disagreement with him or anytime I ask him to do something. And at this point, I simply don't know what to do. So I don't even know where to start with this one. My boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years. It's been a pretty good relationship up until the last year or so. I have always been very empathetic towards my boyfriend, as well as towards any emotional or physical pain that he might be going through. I'm the type of person that cries because other people are crying, and I've always been just like that. My boyfriend himself doesn't hide his emotions. If he is feeling sad, angry, upset, he will freely express that and cry when he needs to. Lately though, it seems that he is weaponizing his feelings to use them against me. He knows how upset I will get when he is upset, and has known this since the beginning of our relationship. Within the last year or so, whenever we are having an argument or even a civil conversation that doesn't seem to be going his way, he will break down in tears and start sobbing about how I don't love him and we should just break up if I don't actually care about him. This behavior hurts me deeply and I will usually drop the conversation to try and comfort and reassure him. This used to happen with big arguments, but for the last few months, it has happened literally any time I have an opinion or we have any kind of conversation that he doesn't agree with. I feel as though this has extended beyond the point of rationally feeling pain and into the point of manipulation. He has literally brought himself to tears before so that I will drop everything that I'm doing just to go and get him a glass of juice. This has all reached a peak about 3 months ago when I asked him to do the dishes while I made a grocery run. He began to throw a fit about how he was playing video games with his friends and how I could just do the dishes before I left. I asked him to please just pause the game and do the dishes because I really just needed to get to the store before it closed down. He immediately broke down into tears and started sobbing about how I treat him like dirt and that his life doesn't run on my terms, and that if I truly loved him, I wouldn't be treating him this way. Now, instead of feeling any type of sympathy or empathy as I have in the past, I was just completely numb. I watched him sob in front of me without feeling anything. I had no desire to comfort or console him. I think I may have even felt a little bit of disgust at the realization that this type of behavior has been going on for a while, and I was just too blind to see it. Since then, I have felt no sympathy towards his pain whatsoever. I still love him, and I want to be with him, but when he breaks down and cries in front of me, or whines that he is stressed out or upset, I literally feel no sympathy or any desire to comfort him in any way, shape, or form. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like this is turning me into a terrible person or something else. On the other hand, though, he has used my empathy against me for so long that it seems like that part of me is broken. I have no idea what to do at this point. I don't know if I should bring this situation up to him. What should I do? So let me get this straight. Your boyfriend started crying because he didn't want to do the dishes? Like, what is going on? This absolutely is manipulation at its finest. Seriously, this is unacceptable. And hopefully you can see that this is a big problem. He is clearly using your compassion against you, and he's basically trying to play you so that he never has to do anything in this relationship pretty much ever. For some context, he is an adult man. He is 25 years old. For him to break down and start crying over small things like that makes me think that maybe he needs to see a doctor of some kind. It's either that or he seriously is playing you. So I think either way, a conversation really does need to happen if there's ever any hope that this relationship could last, because the way your boyfriend is treating you is so inappropriate, and you absolutely do not deserve to have to put up with that. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.